Have you ever felt your heart pound, your throat tighten, and your mind go completely blank the moment you need to speak English? That crushing fear, that voice whispering you'll make a mistake, is why you're here. And I promise you, by the end of this, that voice will be silenced forever. Welcome. My name is Alex, and I was once exactly where you are now, frozen by fear, convinced I would never speak fluently. Then I discovered a secret weapon, not about complex grammar, but about power-packed, ready-to-use sentences. This is the story of how 500 powerful English sentences can instantly rebuild your speaking confidence from the ground up. This isn't just another language lesson. This is a mindset shift, a practical toolkit you can use from day one. Let's start with a brutal truth. Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about having a reliable arsenal of phrases you can deploy without thought. Think of it like this. A chef isn't paralyzed in the kitchen because they have mastered foundational sauces and techniques. Similarly, these 500 sentences are your foundational sauces for English conversation. They cover agreement, disagreement, opinions, storytelling, handling difficult questions, and social elegance. When you internalize them, you stop translating word for word in your head. You start reacting, engaging, and finally connecting. Today, I'll give you the first 5, and you'll feel the difference immediately. These are not "hello, how are you" sentences. These are game changers. Sentence 1 for when someone makes a great point. You've absolutely hit the nail on the head. Feel the power? It's specific, it's native-like, and it instantly makes you sound more engaged and sophisticated. Say it out loud with me now. You've absolutely hit the nail on the head. Congratulations! You've just taken your first step. Your journey to unshakable confidence starts right here, right now. Let's begin. Now, let's tackle the silent killer of confidence, the pause. That dreaded gap where you search for a word and feel the conversation crumble. What if I told you that native speakers don't speak in perfect, uninterrupted streams? They use strategic bridges. Our next powerful sentence is exactly that, a bridge. That's an excellent question, and it really gets to the heart of the matter. Say it. Feel how it buys you 3 full seconds to think. It frames you as thoughtful, not struggling. You are not panicking. You are considering the profundity of the question. This is linguistic judo, using the momentum of the conversation to your advantage. Here's a data point that will change everything for you. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that procedural knowledge, knowing how to do something in a language, is far more critical for fluency than declarative knowledge, which is just knowing about the language. These sentences are pure procedural knowledge. They are tools for doing. You don't need to analyze the grammar of "it gets to the heart of the matter." You just need to deploy it. That is the core of our method. Sentences 3 and 4 are for those moments you dread, disagreement, and interruption. Most learners either stay silent or sound rude. No more. For polite disagreement. I see where you're coming from, but I have a slightly different perspective. It validates first, then diverges. It's diplomatic and strong. For when someone interrupts you, instead of a weak, you use, "if I could just finish my thought, I think you'll see where I'm going with this. This isn't aggressive, it's assertive. It reclaims the floor with grace. Practice these two together right now. Say them aloud until your voice feels firm and calm. These are your shields in conversation. Finally, sentence 5 is your secret weapon for connection. That reminds me of something I heard/read recently. This is how you transition smoothly, how you contribute to any topic, even if you have no personal experience. It makes you sound well-read and engaged. This single phrase can carry you through countless social and professional situations. So, your first toolkit is complete. 5 sentences that transform you from reactive to proactive. You are no longer waiting for the conversation to happen to you. You are guiding it. You now have 5 powerful sentences in your arsenal. But confidence isn't just about having tools. It's about the mindset to use them. Let's address the biggest psychological barrier, the fear of sounding silly. I want you to remember this fact. A study published in the Journal of Language and Social Psychology found that non-native speakers consistently underestimate how competent and intelligent they sound to native listeners. Your perceived flaws are magnified 100 times louder in your own head. The native listener is not judging your accent or occasional stumble. They are processing the value of your idea. So, we shift focus from perfect pronunciation to powerful delivery. This brings us to our next set of sentences, designed for influence and impact. These are what I call power responses. The first is for when you need to show decisive understanding. Instead of a weak "okay" or "I think so," you say, "I'm completely aligned with that approach." Say it, "I'm completely aligned." The word aligned is professional, strategic, and confident. It moves you from a passive participant to a strategic partner. Next, the sentence to gracefully accept praise, a moment that often flusters learners. Don't just mutter, "Thank you." Amplify it. Try this. "Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that, especially because I put a lot of thought into it." This does 3 things. It accepts gracefully, it shows appreciation for the observer, and it subtly underscores your diligence. It turns a compliment into a connection. Now, let's talk about storytelling, the backbone of all human connection. You don't need a vast vocabulary to tell a good story. You need a strong framework. Here is your opening line for any anecdote. "So, I found myself in a situation where I had to think on my feet." Immediately, you create intrigue. The listener leans in. "Think on your feet" is a brilliant idiom that paints a picture of quick thinking. From there, you can build your story simply. The sentence has done the heavy lifting of grabbing attention. Our final sentence for this section is your anchor in uncertainty. When you're not 100% sure of an answer, but want to contribute thoughtfully, say, "Based on what I know at the moment, my inclination would be to." This is intellectual honesty paired with confidence. You are not pretending to be all-knowing. You are demonstrating reasoned judgment. This sentence has saved me in countless meetings. It makes your contribution sound measured and wise, not guesswork. Practice these now. Feel the authority they carry. You are not just speaking. You are leading the conversation. Let's pause for a moment and talk about absorption. This isn't about memorizing 500 lines like a robot. It's about integration. The mistake most learners make is trying to swallow all the sentences at once. That leads to overwhelm and abandonment. Our method is different. We work in clusters of 5. You take your first 5, the ones you now have, and you live with them for a week. Your mission is not to use them all in one conversation, but to listen for the moment where one fits perfectly. It's like being a linguistic spy waiting for your cue. This active listening transforms your brain's approach from study to strategy. I want to share a personal turning point. Years ago, in a critical job interview, the interviewer asked, "What is your greatest weakness?" My mind, of course, went blank. Then, one of these powerful sentences surfaced. That's a question I've given a lot of thought to. Saying that bought me the critical seconds to breathe and compose a genuine answer. The interviewer later told me how impressed they were with my considered response. That sentence didn't just save me, it elevated me. It showed me these are not just phrases, they are psychological tools. Now, let's build your next cluster, focusing on social agility. These are for networking, parties, and those fluid conversations where you need to be charming and effortless. Sentence 1, the perfect follow-up question to keep anyone talking. What was the catalyst for that decision? The word catalyst is sophisticated yet natural. It shows deep interest. Sentence 2, for when you want to gracefully exit a chat. It's been so insightful talking with you. I should let you circulate, but let's definitely connect on this further. It's polite, complimentary, and conclusive. Sentence 3 is your universal agreement booster. You've just articulated exactly what I've been feeling. It creates instant rapport. Use it sincerely. Sentence 4, for when a topic is complex. Could you elaborate a bit on how that process works in practice? This makes you seem diligent and ensures you understand before contributing. Finally, the master sentence for sharing an opinion without sounding dogmatic. My gut feeling on this is, and I'm open to being persuaded otherwise. This is disarming, confident, and collaborative all at once. These 5 sentences turn you from an observer into a master conversationalist. They give you control over the flow, depth, and exit of any social interaction. Practice them not as lines, but as keys. Each one unlocks a different social door. This week, live with these 5. Listen for their openings. Your confidence will grow not from knowing them, but from using them to connect. We've covered social agility. Now, let's ascend to the next level, professional presence. This is where confidence translates directly into opportunity. In professional settings, the stakes feel higher, and the fear of misspeaking can be paralyzing. But here's a counterintuitive truth. Professional English often relies on a smaller, more predictable set of phrases than casual conversation. It's about precision and tone. The sentences you'll learn now are your leverage in meetings, negotiations, and presentations. Our first professional power sentence is for when you need to clarify a complex point without revealing confusion. Never say, "I don't understand." Instead, frame it as a pursuit of clarity for the group. To make sure I'm tracking correctly, could you walk me through how X impacts Y? This positions you as meticulous and collaborative. You're not lost. You're ensuring alignment. Sentence 2 is your project management powerhouse. Let's circle back to that action item and define a clear owner and deadline. This one sentence demonstrates leadership, organization, and drives results. It's proactive and respected. Now, for the moment everyone fears, presenting an idea that might be rejected. Your sentence here is a shield and a spear. I'd like to propose a different angle for us to consider. The potential upside I see is this prefaces your idea not as criticism, but as a valuable alternative focused on benefit. It invites curiosity, not defense. Data point. Linguists call this strategic tentativeness. It's using phrases like I'd like to, one angle could be, or the potential upside is to introduce ideas with softened authority, making them more palatable and increasing their chance of acceptance. You sound collaborative, not confrontational. This is a subtle art that these sentences master for you. Finally, the 2 sentences that handle pressure. For when you're put on the spot, I don't have the full data at my fingertips to answer that definitively, but my initial take is this is intellectual honesty that protects your credibility. And for closing a discussion with authority, so the path forward as I understand it is A, B, and C. I'll take point on A and report back next week. This demonstrates listening, synthesis, and ownership. It leaves a lasting impression of competence. These 5 professional sentences are more than words. They are career tools. They build your reputation as a clear thinker, a driver of action, and a reliable colleague. Practice them with a formal tone. Record yourself. This week, listen for just one opportunity to use one in a work context, even in an email. You are not just learning English. You are crafting a professional persona. Now we move into the realm of advanced confidence. This is where you stop reacting and start orchestrating. We've handled social and professional scenarios. But what about the nuanced moments that truly define a fluent speaker? The moments of humor, subtle correction, and sophisticated persuasion. This next cluster is for those who are ready to not just speak, but to charm and influence. It's about adding color to your language palette. The first sentence here is a masterstroke for handling mistakes, yours or others. Instead of an awkward correction, you say, I think I might have misspoken. Let me rephrase that for clarity. This takes ownership without shame and projects a commitment to clear communication. It turns a potential stumble into a display of professionalism. For acknowledging someone else's good point in a way that builds alliance use. I couldn't agree more with the point you just made. It's absolutely pivotal. The word pivotal is powerful and specific. Let's talk about humor. You don't need to tell jokes. You need to show a light touch. The sentence for that is, you're going to think I made this up, but... This is a classic storytelling hook that invites camaraderie and makes any anecdote more engaging. It's a warm, humanizing phrase. Next, the sentence for sophisticated skepticism, when you need to question gently. That's a fascinating approach. What led you away from a more conventional path? This shows critical thinking without dismissal. It invites explanation rather than confrontation. And finally, perhaps the most powerful sentence in your entire toolkit for creating connection. Help me understand your thinking behind that. This is magic. It assumes intelligence, it shows humility, and it opens a deep dialogue. It is the ultimate disarming tool, useful in conflict, negotiation, and collaboration. Practice this one with a tone of genuine curiosity, not challenge. These sentences represent a shift from functional to influential language. They allow you to manage the emotional texture of a conversation. This week, choose just one, perhaps the one about handling mistakes or the one for creating connection. Experiment with it in a low-stakes environment. Notice how it changes not just the conversation, but your own sense of authority. You are no longer just a participant. You are shaping the dynamics. This is where confidence becomes tangible power. You have a growing arsenal of powerful sentences, but a tool left in the box is useless. The critical bridge between knowing and owning these phrases is practice, and not just any practice, strategic, integrated practice. The biggest hurdle isn't memory, it's recall under pressure. When your heart is racing, your brain defaults to old, simple pathways. We need to build new highways so these sentences come out instinctively. This part is about engineering that automaticity. Forget rote repetition. It's ineffective and boring. Instead, we use a method called situational anchoring. Here's how it works. Take one sentence, like our professional powerhouse. Let's circle back to that action item. Now, mentally anchor it to a specific trigger you encounter daily. Every time you finish a meal, or wait for a coffee, or stand up from your desk, that's your trigger. In that moment, you don't just say the sentence in your head. You say it out loud with the tone and authority you'd use in a meeting. You're not memorizing words. You are training a conditioned response. This technique leverages what neuroscientists call context-dependent memory, tying the phrase to a frequent action so it becomes more readily accessible. Next, employ shadowing. Find a short clip from a film, TV show, or podcast where a character speaks with confidence and uses similar phrases. Play a few seconds, pause, and immediately imitate not just the words, but the rhythm, the intonation, the breath. This builds muscular memory for the language. Your mouth gets used to shaping these sophisticated phrases. Data from speech therapists shows that proprioceptive feedback, feeling your mouth make the shapes, is as important as auditory feedback for fluency. Finally, the journaling twist. Don't write about your day. Write imaginary dialogues. Script a conversation where you successfully use 3 of your new sentences. You are the hero of this dialogue. This exercises the creative, generative part of your brain, forcing it to synthesize and deploy the language in a coherent context. It's a safe simulation for your mind. This week, don't add new sentences. Go back to your first 10. Choose just 2. Anchor them to daily triggers, shadow them from a video, and write one dialogue. This depth of practice for a few phrases is infinitely more valuable than skimming the surface of dozens. You are not collecting sentences. You are installing software. With each practiced phrase, you are rewiring your brain for confident, instantaneous speech. The gap between thought and expression is about to vanish. At this point, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but what if I freeze? What if the sentence just won't come out? This is the most common objection, and it's not a language problem, it's a panic problem. So let's address the monster in the room, the fight or flight response. When anxiety hits, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for complex thought and recall, literally goes offline. Blood flows to your survival instincts. You can't access your beautiful sentences because your brain thinks it's avoiding a tiger. The solution is not to fight the panic, but to bypass it with a physical and verbal trigger. This is your emergency protocol. The moment you feel that icy wave of fear, you engage in a micro-ritual. First, your feet. Feel them flat on the floor. Press down slightly. This grounds you physically, signaling safety. Then you buy time with a universal bridging sentence that requires zero thought. That's a key point. Let me gather my thoughts for a second. Say it slowly. Breathe on the word second. This sentence is your life raft. It is socially acceptable, shows consideration, and gives you the critical 3 to 5 seconds to reset. During that breath, your only job is to scan your mental toolkit for just one relevant sentence. Not the perfect one, a good enough one. I'm aligned with that, or my gut feeling is. Starting to speak breaks the panic cycle. Now, let's preempt another major confidence killer, the fear of being boring. You worry your contribution isn't clever enough. Here's a liberating truth from conversational analysis. Most dialogue is built not on brilliant insights, but on effective listening and building. Your next powerful sentence cluster is for this exact purpose, building on others. Sentence 1, building on what name just said, I'd add that. This makes you a team player and gives you a launch pad. Sentence 2, to play devil's advocate for a moment, what if we considered? This allows you to introduce a contrasting idea without personal conflict. Sentence 3 is your empathy amplifier. I imagine that must have been quite challenging. How did you navigate it? This demonstrates emotional intelligence and keeps the focus gracefully on the other person. These sentences remove the pressure to be the origin of all ideas. Instead, you become the catalyst for deeper conversation, which is infinitely more valuable. You are the oil in the engine, not just a spare part. Practice these builders this week. Use them to actively engage with podcasts or news articles. Respond to the speaker out loud. You are training your brain to connect, not just perform. Let's talk about a transformation that happens when confidence grows. It's not just that you speak more. You begin to listen differently. You stop listening to others through a filter of fear. How will I respond? And start listening through a lens of curiosity. What can I learn or build from this? This shift is monumental. It's the difference between a defensive speaker and a charismatic one. And charisma, in large part, is simply the ability to make others feel heard while expressing yourself clearly. Our next sentence cluster is engineered for this exact purpose. To make your conversation partner feel like the most interesting person in the room, which in turn makes you one. We begin with the mirror sentence. When someone shares an experience, instead of jumping to your own story, you say, "It sounds like that was a really defining moment for you." This reflective phrase validates their emotion and invites them to elaborate. It shows deep listening. Next, the precision question. What was the most surprising part of that journey for you? The word journey elevates a simple story into a narrative, and surprising unlocks specific, often passionate details. Now, for the moment when you genuinely want to offer praise that sticks, I have to say your perspective on that is incredibly refreshing. This is specific and meaningful. It's far more powerful than a generic good idea. Here's a data point from social psychology. Compliments that are specific and reference a person's unique thought process are perceived as more sincere and are remembered longer. You're not just flattering, you're affirming their intellect. But what about when the conversation hits a lull, or you need to steer it toward common ground? Your sentence is, if you had to distill the most important lesson from that, what would it be? This is a question that anyone on any topic can answer. It forces synthesis and often reveals core values, creating a deeper connection instantly. Finally, the graceful redirect for when a topic becomes negative or unproductive. I want to make sure we're focusing our energy on solutions. What's one step that could improve the situation? This demonstrates leadership and a positive mindset without dismissing concerns. Practice these sentences with a focus on the other person's response. Your goal is not to wait for your turn to talk, but to see how their words change based on your thoughtful prompts. This week, choose one conversation with a friend, a colleague, even a customer service rep, and use just one of these listener-centric sentences. Observe the shift in dynamics. You are no longer just exchanging information. You are conducting the music of the dialogue. And that is the true mark of a confident speaker. We are approaching a crucial summit in our journey. You have tools for response, for listening, for professionalism. Now, we integrate them into something greater, your unique linguistic identity. This is where you move beyond using sentences to making them yours. The final secret is that these 500 sentences are not a rigid script. They are a palette. A confident speaker doesn't just recite. They adapt, they mix, they create new shades of meaning. This phase is about ownership. Think of your mind as a museum, and each of these powerful sentences is a prized exhibit. But a museum is not a storage locker. The exhibits are carefully curated, labeled, and displayed for a purpose. Your job this week is to start curating your personal phrase museum. Take a notebook, digital or physical. Create sections: professional power, social agility, intelligent inquiry, connection builders. Place the sentences you've already learned into these wings. Then write a one-line note next to each, the exact situation where you used it or plan to use it. This act of curation transforms them from borrowed phrases into personal assets. Now, let's talk about adaptation, the superpower of the fluent. Take a simple frame like, I see where you're coming from, but I have a slightly different perspective. Once this is solid, you can play with it. Change slightly different perspective to a different take on the data for a meeting, or a funnier way to look at it for a casual chat. The skeleton is unshakably confident. You just change the clothes. This is how you generate thousands of sentences from hundreds of frames. Our final cluster for this section is meta sentences, phrases that talk about the conversation itself, showcasing supreme control. Sentence 1. I want to make sure I'm articulating this clearly. Does that make sense so far? This checks understanding and shows care. Sentence 2. Let me pause here because I really want to hear your reaction to that. This strategically hands over the floor, creating engagement. Sentence 3. This might be a tangent, but I think it's connected because this gracefully guides the conversation back to your point. This is advanced confidence. It's managing the mechanics of dialogue while contributing to its content. You are no longer just a passenger in the conversation. You are its pilot, checking the instruments, adjusting the course, and ensuring a smooth flight for everyone. Start your museum tonight. Take just 5 sentences and curate them. Write your note. This simple act of ownership is the bridge between learning and becoming a truly powerful, confident speaker. We've built a formidable toolkit for interaction. Now, let's focus on a specific high-stakes skill, persuasion. The ability to sway, convince, and inspire action is the pinnacle of confident communication. It's not about manipulation. It's about framing your ideas so compellingly that others willingly choose to follow. This next cluster of sentences is your key to unlocking influence. These are the phrases used by leaders, negotiators, and visionaries. Our first sentence here is the foundation of all persuasion, establishing common ground. Before presenting your idea, you say, "We all share the same goal here, which is X. Given that, I believe the most effective path forward is..." This aligns you with your audience against a common problem, not against each other. It's a collaborative opening. Next, the sentence for introducing an innovative or risky idea. I propose we run a pilot. The learning alone would be invaluable, and the upside is significant. This reduces perceived risk by framing it as a learning experiment. Let's incorporate a crucial psychological principle, the power of because. A famous study by psychologist Ellen Langer showed that adding a reason, any reason, dramatically increases compliance. Our persuasion sentence harnesses this. I strongly recommend we adopt this approach because it will future-proof our process against the kind of market shifts we're seeing. Always have a because ready. It appeals to logic and provides justification. Now, for overcoming the most common objection, what if we're wrong? Your sentence is, even if our assumptions are off, this move will still put us in a far stronger position than the status quo. This acknowledges doubt while reinforcing the value of action over inaction. Finally, the closing sentence that secures commitment. Based on everything we've discussed, the next logical step seems clear. I'm ready to champion this if the team is aligned. This shows conviction and invites a decision. Practice these persuasion sentences by applying them to something you genuinely believe in, even a small change at home or work. Write a 1-minute pitch using 3 of them. Persuasion is a muscle. You must flex it in low-stakes environments to prepare for high-stakes moments. When you can articulate a vision and a path clearly, your confidence becomes contagious. People will not just listen, they will want to follow. Now, let's master one of the most sought-after skills in any language, Storytelling. A great story doesn't just convey information. It captures attention, evokes emotion, and makes you unforgettable. This is where your confidence can truly shine, because a well-told story allows you to command a room. You don't need to be a novelist. You need a simple, powerful structure and the sentences to frame it. We're going to build your 4-sentence story spine. Sentence 1 is your hook. It must create immediate intrigue. Use: I'll never forget the time I was completely out of my depth. This creates instant empathy and curiosity. Everyone has felt out of their depth. They're hooked. Sentence 2 builds the tension and sets the scene. The situation was escalating quickly, and I realized my usual approach wouldn't cut it. This raises the stakes and shows a moment of crisis. Sentence 3 is your turning point, the action you took. This is where you demonstrate resourcefulness. Use: So I decided to take a completely different tack, and the phrase "a different tack" is excellent here. It's visual and implies strategic thinking. Finally, sentence 4 is your resolution and the lesson, which gives the story meaning. Looking back, the biggest takeaway wasn't the outcome, but how it changed my approach to challenges. This is profound and relatable. Practice this 4-sentence spine with a simple story from your own life. The out of my depth moment could be anything: a presentation, a travel mishap, a cooking disaster. Use the exact sentences above as your container. By constraining yourself to this structure, you paradoxically become more creative and confident. You know you have a beginning, middle, and end that works. This week, your mission is to prepare 2 stories using this spine. Tell them out loud to yourself. Record them on your phone. Listen back. The goal is not perfection, but fluency and engagement. When you have these pre-framed stories ready, you become a valuable contributor to any social gathering. You are no longer just answering questions. You are offering experiences, and that is a profound shift in your speaking identity. A true test of confidence is how you handle the questions you dread, the difficult, the unexpected, the seemingly aggressive query. In these moments, the instinct is to shrink, to give a short, defensive answer. But we will flip the script. Your goal is not just to answer, but to demonstrate unshakable poise. This next cluster is your shield and your spear for these very moments. These sentences transform a threat into an opportunity to showcase your intelligence and calm. The first rule: never answer immediately. You must create a buffer. Your most powerful buffer sentence is, "I appreciate you pushing on that point. It allows us to clarify what's truly important." This does wonders. It reframes the push as a helpful act, and it elevates the discussion. Then you can proceed. For a question that feels like an attack on your idea, use, "That concern is valid if we were to proceed without safeguards. However, the plan includes a specific phase to address that exact issue." This validates without conceding and demonstrates foresight. What about when you simply don't know the answer? The worst thing you can do is bluff. The best thing you can do is display impeccable integrity and drive. Your sentence is, "I don't have that specific figure/date at hand, but I will get it to you by end of day today." Would that be acceptable? This turns a moment of uncertainty into a demonstration of reliability. It builds more trust than a guess ever could. Now, for the trickiest of all, the loaded question, one that contains a false assumption. Your sentence surgically dismantles it. I think we need to separate two things here. The premise of your question and the core issue, which is actually, this shows critical thinking and steers the conversation to solid ground. Finally, for closing a difficult Q&A with authority, it's clear this is a priority. I suggest we take the questions raised here as action items for our next phase. This shows leadership and control. Practice these with a friend. Have them throw tough questions at you. Use only these sentences to respond. Feel how they give you structural integrity under pressure. When you know you have these responses ready, you stop fearing questions. You start to welcome them, because each one is a chance to demonstrate the confident, capable speaker you have become. Confidence isn't just about navigating challenges. It's also about expressing the full spectrum of human emotion with clarity and grace. This is what transforms you from a competent speaker into a compelling one. When you can articulate not just ideas, but feelings, your own and others, you connect on a deeper level. This final cluster before our conclusion is about emotional intelligence in language. These sentences allow you to be perceived as warm, authentic, and truly engaged. Let's start with empathy, the cornerstone of connection. When someone shares a difficulty, avoid generic, "I'm sorry." Instead, validate their experience with, "That sounds incredibly tough. I appreciate you sharing that with me." This acknowledges the specific emotional weight and thanks them for their trust. For moments of shared joy or success, amplify it. "I'm genuinely thrilled to see this come together. Your hard work is really shining through." The word genuinely adds sincerity, and shining through is a vivid, positive image. Now, for agreement and disagreement with emotional nuance. Beyond simple "I agree," try, "You've expressed that so perfectly I have nothing to add." This is high praise. For disagreeing without friction, "I have a lot of respect for your viewpoint, and it's pushing me to think differently about my own stance." This shows you are secure enough to be challenged. Here's a psychological insight. Studies in neurolinguistics show that using emotion labeling words like frustrated, enthusiastic, or concerned activates the emotional centers of both the speaker's and listener's brains, creating stronger mutual understanding. So, don't shy from these words. Frame your feelings. "My concern comes from a place of not wanting to miss this opportunity," or "My enthusiasm for this is because I see it solving a core problem." Finally, the sentence for taking responsibility, which builds immense respect. "I own that mistake. Here's how I plan to rectify it." This is confidence in its purest form, vulnerability with a solution. And for offering support, "I'm in your corner on this. What's the best way for me to support you right now?" This moves from passive sympathy to active alliance. Practice these emotion-centric sentences this week. In your conversations, consciously label one feeling. Observe the shift in depth. This is the art of conversation. You are not just exchanging data, you are building relationships. And with these tools, You are building them with confidence and genuine connection. You are becoming the speaker people remember, trust, and want to engage with again and again. Having equipped you with sentences for nearly every scenario, from the boardroom to the heart-to-heart, a critical question remains. How do you sound more natural? The final piece of the confidence puzzle is not about adding more, but about blending it all seamlessly. Native speakers don't segment their conversations into professional phrases and social phrases. They mix registers, they use idioms for color, and they transition smoothly between topics. Your ultimate goal is to achieve this fluid blend, making your powerful sentences feel like an organic part of your unique voice. This is where we introduce connective tissue, the small, almost invisible phrases that link your thoughts and your powerful sentences together, creating a natural flow. For example, instead of jumping from one idea to the next, use a bridge. Speaking of which, that reminds me of a broader principle. This feels conversational and intelligent. To introduce a contrasting thought fluidly, try. On the flip side, we should also consider it's casual yet clear. A key tactic for naturalness is the downshift and upshift. You can downshift from a formal point to a personal example with, to put a human face on that. Conversely, you can upshift from a story to a key takeaway with, the reason I share that story is because it underscores a critical lesson. These transitions make you a guide, leading the listener through your reasoning with ease. Let's talk about pace. One of the telltale signs of nervousness is rushing. To force a controlled, confident pace, adopt this simple sentence. This is important, so let me say this slowly. When you actually say these words, you must slow down. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that projects gravitas. Pair it with a powerful pause after delivering a key point. Your final integration practice this week is the blended monologue. Choose a topic you care about. Record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Your challenge is to use at least 3 different types of sentences from your toolkit. 1 for emotional expression, 1 for professional structure, and 1 for intelligent inquiry or storytelling. The goal is not perfection, but fluidity. Listen back. Are the transitions jarring or smooth? This exercise wires your brain to access your full range in a single stream of thought. This blending is the master key. It means you are no longer thinking, now I use my professional sentence. You are simply thinking of your message, and your toolkit provides the most eloquent, confident way to express it. The sentences have become part of you. You have the tools, the blending techniques, and the mindset. But there is one invisible force that can undermine it all, the plateau. That feeling where progress seems to halt, where your newfound confidence might stutter. This is the most critical phase where most people give up, but not you. Because understanding the plateau is the first step to breaking through it. Your confidence must evolve from being fueled by quick wins to being sustained by deep, ingrained habit. This part is about building that endurance. The plateau often hits when the initial excitement wears off. You've used your sentences successfully a few times, and the novelty fades. Here's the key. You must shift your goal from using sentences to achieving outcomes. Your metric for success changes. Instead of, did I use my powerful phrase? Ask, did I lead that meeting more effectively? Or did I connect more deeply with that person? This reframes your practice from performance to purpose, which is infinitely more motivating. To reignite momentum, we introduce a new cluster of sentences designed for your own growth and reflection. These are metacognitive tools. First, for seeking constructive feedback without sounding insecure. I'm really working on honing my communication. Was there anything in my explanation that could have been clearer? This shows proactive growth. Second, for self-correction in the moment. Actually, let me rephrase that to be more precise. This demonstrates a commitment to clarity that is admirable. Now, a crucial data point from habit research. Habits form not just through repetition, but through reward. You must consciously reward yourself for small victories. Did you use a sentence smoothly? Acknowledge it. Did you handle a tough question? Celebrate it. Your brain needs to link the effort with a positive feeling. Create a simple reward system. Next, the sentence for when you hit a vocabulary wall mid-conversation. The word is escaping me right now, but the concept is essentially this graceful recovery prevents panic and keeps the idea flowing. It turns a potential stumble into a display of conceptual mastery. Finally, the sentence to rebuild momentum on days you feel stuck. Progress isn't always linear. My goal today is just to listen for opportunities. This reduces pressure and keeps you in the game. Consistent, gentle pressure over time will always defeat short, intense bursts followed by burnout. This week, your task is to use the feedback sentence once. Ask someone you trust for input on your clarity, and celebrate one small win, no matter how tiny. You are building the habits of a lifetime confident speaker. The plateau isn't a wall, it's a stepping stone to a higher, more stable level of fluency. Keep going. We've conquered the plateau by shifting our focus from performance to purpose. Now let's address a subtle but profound question that may be forming in your mind. If I'm using pre-learned sentences, am I being truly authentic? This is a vital concern. Authenticity is the soul of confidence. People can sense a rehearsed robot from a mile away. So, the final art is to inject your unique personality into these frames, to sound like you, just a more articulate, confident version of yourself. This isn't about mimicry, it's about amplification. The key is to remember that these sentences are structures, not straitjackets. They provide the architectural blueprint for a solid house, but you choose the interior decor, your tone, your humor, your passion. For instance, the sentence, "I see where you're coming from," can be delivered with warm empathy, cool skepticism, or enthusiastic agreement, all through your tone of voice. Your personality lives in the delivery. To consciously practice this, we need sentences that allow for genuine vulnerability and personal expression. These are your authenticity anchors. Sentence 1 for when you're genuinely stuck or surprised. Wow, you've really caught me off guard with that question. In a good way. Let me think about that for a second. This is human, relatable, and buys you time. Sentence 2 for sharing a personal conviction. This is something I feel quite passionately about, so I hope I can do it justice. This prefaces your words with heart, making the listener more receptive. Here's a tip from the world of acting: the concept of personalization. An actor doesn't just say lines, they connect the lines to a real memory or feeling from their own life. You can do this when you practice a sentence like, "That was a defining moment." Pause and think of a real defining moment from your life. Let that genuine feeling color your voice as you say the phrase. This practice roots the language in your true experience. Our final authenticity sentence is for admitting a lack of knowledge with curiosity. "I actually don't know much about that, but I'd love to learn." What got you interested in it? This turns a potential weakness into a connection point and shows a growth mindset. It's disarming and entirely genuine. This week, choose 3 sentences you use often. For each one, practice saying it with 3 different emotional tones: excited, concerned, and thoughtful. Record them. Hear how the same words can convey different shades of you. Then, in your conversations, focus on matching the tone to the moment. You are not just selecting a sentence from a toolbox. You're choosing the right tool and wielding it with your unique style. This is where learned language transforms into lived expression. Your confidence becomes authentic because it is expressed in your true voice. We stand at a pivotal moment. You have amassed a formidable collection of linguistic tools, mindset shifts, and practical strategies. The final step before your sustained journey is consolidation. How do you ensure that these 500 sentences don't remain a list, but become the very fabric of your thinking and speaking? The answer lies in creating your personal confidence blueprint. This is a living document, a 1-page manifesto of your communication identity, derived from everything we've covered. Your blueprint has 3 sections. First, your core sentences. This is not 500 sentences. This is your top 10, the ones that have resonated most, that you've used successfully, that feel most like you. Write them down. They are your non-negotiables, your go-to phrases for any high-stakes situation. Second, your mindset mantras. These are the psychological truths you must remember, like "my perceived flaws are louder only to me," or "progress is not linear." Third, your practice prompts. These are the tiny habits, like "anchor 1 sentence to my morning coffee," or "shadow for 2 minutes daily." Let me give you a powerful sentence for this very process of consolidation. I am systematically integrating these tools because clear communication is a cornerstone of my personal and professional growth. Saying this out loud reaffirms your commitment and the why behind it. Now, how do you actively recall all you've learned without being overwhelmed? The science of spaced repetition is your ally, but we'll make it simple. Once a week, review your confidence blueprint. Read your top 10 sentences aloud. On a separate day, review your mindset mantras. And each day, choose just 1 practice prompt to execute. This cyclical review ensures the material moves from your short-term to your long-term memory. Your final sentence for this part is for when someone compliments your English fluency in the future. Instead of a shy "thank you," you respond with this affirming truth: "Thank you. I've been very intentional about finding the right words to express my ideas clearly." This sentence is powerful. It acknowledges the effort without apology. It speaks to strategy over luck, and it closes the loop on your journey from fear to intention. Your task now is to create your confidence blueprint. Take the next 24 hours to draft it. Keep it simple, keep it personal, and keep it where you can see it. This document is your anchor. It transforms this learning from a passive experience into an active, living part of your identity. You are not just a student of English. You are an architect of your confident voice. Your confidence blueprint is drafted. Your top 10 sentences are ready. But let me ask you this. What happens when you step out into the real world and your first conversation doesn't go as planned? This is the moment where theory meets reality, and it's where true confidence is forged. Not in the safety of practice, but in the unpredictable flow of human interaction. Today, we move from preparation to action. This is about launching your voice into the world, equipped not with perfection, but with resilience. The first real-world challenge is initiating. How do you start a conversation that allows you to use your powerful sentences? You need a universal opener. Here it is. I was just reflecting on current topic, recent event, or shared experience, and I'm curious to get your take on it. This sentence is golden. It shows thoughtfulness, invites opinion, and works anywhere, from a coffee break to a conference. It hands the floor to the other person first, easing you into the dialogue. Now, for the inevitable surprise, a topic you know nothing about. Your sentence here is not to pretend, but to leverage ignorance productively. That's outside my wheelhouse, but I'm fascinated. What's the most common misconception about that? This acknowledges your lack of expertise while showing intelligent curiosity. It often leads to a fascinating explanation, and you learn something new. Let's talk about a data point that liberates you. Research from the field of communication shows that in any conversation, listeners prioritize relatability and clarity over lexical complexity. They want to connect and understand. Your powerful sentences provide the clarity. Your genuine curiosity provides the relatability. You don't need to know everything. You need to engage authentically. Your task for this week is what I call one launch a day. Each day, you will initiate one conversation using the universal opener above. It can be with anyone, a colleague, a family member, a stranger in line. Your only goal is to use the opener and then listen. Afterward, debrief with yourself what went well, what could be smoother. This is not about performance review, it's about data collection. You are gathering intel on how the real world responds to your new approach. Remember, confidence is not the absence of stumble, it's the recovery. It's the knowledge that you have a blueprint and the tools to rebuild any conversation. So take a deep breath. Your preparation is complete. Now go launch. This is it, the final piece. We've walked the entire path from that initial heart-pounding fear to where you stand now. Equipped, prepared, and mentally reshaped. You have a confidence blueprint, a launch strategy, and over 500 powerful sentences integrated into your thinking. But this moment right now is not an ending. It is the most important beginning of all. It is the day you choose to stop preparing in the safety of your mind and start speaking in the richness of the world. Your confidence will no longer come from me or from these sentences, but from the proven experience of using them. Let me leave you with 3 core truths to carry forward. First, progress over perfection. You will still have moments of hesitation. That's human. Measure your success by how you recover, not by an unattainable ideal of flawless speech. Second, clarity over complexity. The goal was never to use the fanciest words. It was to express your clearest thoughts. These sentences are bridges to your ideas. Third, connection over correction. Your ultimate aim is to connect with other human beings. When you focus on that, the minor grammatical ghosts fade away. Your final 3 sentences are for your journey ahead. When you succeed, say to yourself, I navigated that with intention and clarity. When you face a setback, say, this is data, not failure. It informs my next approach. And when you see someone else struggling to find their voice, say, I remember feeling that way. It gets easier with the right tools. This completes the cycle from learner to master to guide. The microphone is off. The pages of this guide are turning to a close, but your voice is just finding its true volume. You are no longer the person who freezes. You are the person who speaks. You are the person who engages, influences, and connects. Take your blueprint, take your sentences, and step into your conversations with the quiet certainty that you have exactly what you need to express exactly who you are. The world is waiting to hear you. Go speak.